Hey everybody, what's going on? I want to talk to you today about the Tricaru team. I'm going to try to cover everything that I think you need to know about it, how it works, why it works, everything that you need to know to get it to work, and then some kind of more obscure tips in building it that I realized as I was making mine work. It took me quite a while to get mine working the way I wanted it to work. And so I'm going to talk about some mistakes that I made, some things to avoid, and again, just some maybe less common tips when you're approaching building it that might help you set it up in a way that's going to lead to long-term success, okay? So if you don't know, if you're brand new and you don't know what we're talking about, there is a team very popular for Dragons B12, can be used in a couple of other ways as well, but it consists of 3 second awakened water Inugamis and the fire vampire Vertiheel. And the way that it works is the water Inugamis have a skill called Team Up, and they pull a certain number of allies with the Team Up depending on how high their defense is. So not the allies' defense, but their own defense. The higher you get their defense, the more allies they'll pull. If you get their defense over 3,300, that's enough to pull the other 2 Inugamis and Verd. And by the time it cycles back around, they're going to use Team Up again. So it's a run that consists exclusively of them using Team Up. They're constantly pulling Verd in, whose passive is triggering, which is helping you turn cycle. So you're taking a ton of turns before the enemy gets a turn. So you're wiping out the waves, you're killing the mini boss, wiping out the 3rd wave, and then you get to the dragon, and in a perfect world, you kill the dragon before the tower gets immunity up. That's going to be the fastest way to do it, but it's not mandatory that the dragon goes down before immunity goes up, because you can survive. As long as your Verd doesn't get one shot, really, you're fine, because you're going to get so many turns in between that he's going to heal himself back up. He's going to be teaming up so much and using this A1 that he's going to heal himself back up with the damage. That's been my experience anyway. So that's the functionality of the team, right? It's these 3 and him. It's a 4-man team, and they just keep continuously use Team Up. I don't know why the cooldown doesn't matter. I don't know if it's got something to do with what happens when they team up, but it's almost like it counts as a turn for everybody teaming up with them, so it cycles their cooldown. It works. That's all I know, is that it works. So that's that. Before you start trying to build this team, because the defense threshold is very high, with a base defense of 736, it is very difficult to get them over 3,300 defense when it's all said and done. Obviously, if you do the math right now, I'm not there. But that's what we're going to talk about next, is other sources of defense that you need to have sorted out before you even start trying to put gear on these monsters, okay? I need to get another one of these going. Like a... yeah, let's do this real quick. I don't know, maybe. I'll keep that. I'll keep that too. We can be a little bit not super picky about these runes right now, you know? We just started farming this, so. Also, I try not to let any runes go into my inventory not powered up and sorted. I'm trying real hard to stay on top of my inventory. All right. Actually, we won't get another one going because I'm going to need to jump in the dungeon in a minute. So, other sources of defense. The most obvious one is your guardstone. You're going to want this maxed. That extra 20% defense straight out of the gate is going to be the difference maker. It is going to be very, very hard to do this without having this tower maxed out. To find an extra 20% on all 3 of them independently is going to be really hard, because again, the defense threshold is high, and you're going to see when we go look at the gear what I'm talking about. You pretty much need to have this maxed. So go ahead and start doing this. It'll take you a little bit. If you really grind out arena, you can do it in a few days, especially if you're spending and you've got a good pool of crystals. You can just keep burning through crystals and farming glory points and get that tower maxed as soon as you can. Okay, I've got a video about farming arena. I'll card to it up there if you want to check it out. It's a little bit more in depth about what I'm talking about, but that needs to be maxed. Another really good source is in your guild. If your guild is level 21, you're getting a total of another 5% defense from your guild, okay? So at level 6, you get that 2% boost. At level 21, you get that 3% boost. If you're in a new guild, it'll take a little bit, but if everybody's grinding, you can get there relatively quickly. I would say you'll get there before you're really ready to build this team in most cases, okay? So that's an extra 20, I said 5%, right? Yeah, that's an extra 25% defense. Again, just at a baseline, and that is not reflected in the stats. That'll take effect once you're in a battle. Some of these things you don't get to see reflected in the stats. They happen once the battles start, and that's where you'll see the impact of the Guardstone and your guild defense boost, okay? Now, beyond that, there's a rune set called Determination, and it gives everyone on the team an extra 8% defense based on how many sets everyone is wearing. So Determination is going to be really helpful in helping you hit those thresholds, okay? So in my case, I managed to get this done with every one of my Tricarus wearing one Determination set. So they're all on double guard Determination, okay? There are different ways to do this, and as time goes on and I'm able to get the defense higher without Determination, I will, and I'll substitute in some better sets that complement them a little bit better, maybe help them, a focus set to lend their debuff, whatever it may be. But for now, everybody's on double guard Determination. So I'm running 3 Determination sets total. If you can get more in the mix that have the stats that you need, that's great. But ultimately, guard sets and Determination sets are going to be your friend for the first iteration of this team. Almost certainly, you'll improve it over time. But those are really the 2 sets that you want to be focused on. Again, you do need one of them to have over 45 accuracy. In my case, I've got one that's 52. And if you need a focus set to make that happen, and you can still hit your thresholds, fine. But I think guard and determination are going to be a really big help. Now, let's take a look at the runes. Now, on slot 1, you can't have a defensive substat, so keep that in mind. You're going to have to get all of your defense percentage substats on 3 and 5 because your 2, 4, 6 are going to be defense percentage, and they really need to be 6-star. There's really a big difference in a 5-star and a 6-star rune, so they need to be 6-star, okay? So all of your defense percentage is going to have to come on 3 and 5, and you see here we've got a 16 and a 19, which we have grinded up. We've got an 18 and a 22, and then we've got a 20 and a 9. That's my lowest one, and that's because we just enchanted that in, okay? So that's, you're going to be looking for heavy. You're going to need solid double or triple rolls on your 3 and 5 rune for defense percentage to get there, okay? Beyond that, and this is where it starts to get kind of interesting. Again, you do need at least one of them over 45 accuracy. It doesn't hurt to have more of them over that, and it doesn't hurt to have a little more accuracy than that, okay? So you at least need that accuracy on one of them. They roughly need to be plus 40-ish to 50-ish speed. You don't want them too slow, so roughly plus 40 to 50. You'll notice all of mine are kind of in that threshold. He's a little bit faster maybe than he even needs to be, but roughly plus 40 to 50, somewhere around there. And then if you can get it, damage stats, because even though they pull based on defense, they don't do damage based on defense. So you still need attack. Now, fortunately, they do have the attack buff, but they do need attack. So none of mine have great attack. This one's the closest to being there. He's kind of got all the stats. He ended up with a decent setup. But this is where we're at. And then the 3 determination sets in the mix when the battle starts, along with my guardstone and my guild bump, my guild defense bump, puts them over the threshold. Now, one of the things I want you to keep in mind when you're building this is, obviously, Verd can carry determination sets for you if need be, right? If you've got decent determination runes that can give him the damage stats that he needs, that's great. However, my advice to you would be, really strive to get these 3 working independently of anyone else. Because later when you want to do different things with them, they'll be their own trio. You won't need that other unit that's carrying something for them to make them work, okay? So strive to have them work independently of anyone else together. And again, let's take a lap real quick and just look at the runes and look at all the stats we're looking for, right? So we know we want defense where we can get it. We know that we want accuracy. We know that we want a little bit of speed, and we know that we want attack. So let's take a look at just what we've got here. Speed, accuracy, attack. Crit damage isn't really doing us a lot of favors because we don't have a lot of crit rate, but what are you going to do? We've got defense here. We've got speed and accuracy. Again, not ideal. I did grind that up. Anything you can grind up that's going to help any little bit, I would go for it, especially a defensive stat. Here we've got accuracy, defense, and speed. Here we've got attack percentage, flat defense, which I would have hit with a grind. I just didn't have one. A flat attack and accuracy. This one's honestly not bad because even the flat stats, every little bit helps. Here we've got defense, attack, accuracy, and speed. And then here we've got attack and speed and flat defense. So stuff like that helps. This is one of those instances where looking for flat defense rolls, in addition to the other very important things that you need, is actually going to be very helpful. Also, don't overlook your artifacts. Defense on the main stat on your artifacts is an automatic 200, okay? If you can find some artifacts that give you some nice bonuses, great. But ultimately, they need to be that defense main stat because that's an extra 200. Basically puts them at 936 base defense, right? It just makes it that much easier to work with. And then if you can find stuff like co-op damage, additional damage based on any of their stats will be fine. Extra damage to fire, stuff like that is going to really, really be helpful in helping these guys contribute to the damage. But ultimately, your damage is going to be coming from Verd, okay? But the passive is going to be helping a cycle, and then both of these are 2-hitters, and he's the one that's going to be doing most of your damage. So mine's not crazy. I've seen Verds that have like well over plus 2200 with higher crit damage than I have. Mine's not crazy, but that's kind of the point. He doesn't have to be crazy. He just has to be correct, okay? And the big important thing here is the crit rate. It has to be red. This has to be 100. You don't do this with 99 crit rate. As many times as he's going to be getting turns, that 99% is going to show up, and it's going to screw everything up, okay? It's got to be 100. He has to be critting every time he touches anybody for this to be effective, all right? As far as his speed goes, plus 40-ish or so. He needs to be the slowest on the team, but you don't want there to be a huge gap where you're getting cut. That was happening to me at one point because I had him at like plus 19. So I came in here and reworked him. I actually managed to get him on Rage Blade, which is ideal. So he's got attack, crit damage, attack, and we managed to still get the 100 crit rate, okay? So if you have to early on, go crit rate here and you know, see what you could make happen. But again, by the time you should be building this team, you should be able to get him on crit damage and still get the 100% crit rate, okay? So other things that can help you as far as the damage output go are the water attack tower. I ended up putting some levels in the water attack tower. I ended up maxing my attack tower. I ended up putting quite a few points into my crit damage tower to help Verd. The attack tower helps everyone, so I think that was a decent investment straight away. The water attack tower helps 3 of the units, and then the crit damage tower mostly helps Verd right now. Maybe later down the line I'll be able to get crit rate on my Inugamis, and it'll help them too. But for now, that's really just helping Verd. And then the speed tower is also very important. The speed tower is going to take what you've made, this kind of tightly tuned group, and just bump all of their speeds up collectively, which is going to allow you to get more turns as a unit without being interrupted. And the more turns you can get, you can kind of compensate for a lack of damage with more turns. And you want to get the dragon's health down as far as you can get it before the immunity goes up. Let's jump in real quick and just take a look at the run so you can see what we're talking about here. And again, you really only need one of them to have the accuracy to land the debuffs because they're all going together every time. So he's still throwing that defense down up, right? Because he's still hitting every turn. And this is basically what it looks like all the way through. They just continue to team up, and then after they've all gone, Verge sneaks in with another attack, boosts everybody's turn meter back up, and off to the races we go. And we managed to get out of there. For a while, one of my problems was that we would get that mid-boss almost dead, and then the crystals would get a turn, and they would snipe Verd, and that would screw the team up. Obviously, if we lose Verd, it's over. If we lose anybody, it's over, honestly. And then that's it. Defense down goes up immediately. and we start doing damage. And then over time, we just work to increase the damage output. As long as we maintain the things that we need to maintain, which is the defense threshold and the accuracy, the speeds, obviously. As we increase the damage output, this will speed up, and we're close. We're real close to getting him out of there before the immunity goes up, actually, which is pretty dope. A couple more speed tower levels might even help that. But anyway, that's what it looks like. That's what we're going for, okay? Hey, new best time. Good time to get a new best time. So that is what it looks like in action, okay? Now, let's talk about slightly more obscure tips. One of them is, again, when you're doing it, try to have these three work independently of anyone else. If you need the determination runes on Verd, fine. But again, one of the reasons that I say try not to do that is because this also works for Necro. I'll show you that real quick as well. This also works in Necro and with just Shaman in the lead. And I've been running this for a couple of days now. We have not had a failed run yet. Same principle, except you are going to take some attacks every now and then. The good news is that you can build Shaman with a bunch of damage, and when he's 2-aid, he's just so much stronger against dark units that it doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to get him out of there. The stun is a bummer, but it is what it is. It'll be funny if we fail our first run in the middle of this video. So far, they've not failed. But you could see why this would work in here, right? You've got plenty of hits to get the shield down very quickly once we get to the boss. Shaman does a lot of bonus damage to dark units and takes less damage from dark units. So when we get the defense down up and Shaman gets to use special assault, I mean, that's just bonkers, right? And he's not even that well built. I just kind of threw what I had on him to get it going. I'll improve him over time as well, and we might get him to a point where we just one-shot the boss the first time we get to hit him. He'll come back alive. We'll take him out again. But we're averaging roughly a minute, and I didn't have to do anything else. I didn't have to make any other tweaks. I didn't have to try to find determination sets that worked on Shaman as well. I was able to just build him and throw him in, and literally the first time I tried it, it's just worked, right? And it's a 100% success rate as well. So if you can get these three guys working independently of anyone else, it's going to make it a lot easier when you want to start doing other things. I think this team can do some other stuff too. I haven't messed around and discovered it yet, but I feel like I've heard of this team working in other places of the game as well. Perhaps with a different lead unit or I don't know exactly, but again, I think it's really important to try to get these three working as a unit and not need anyone else. When you're trying to get it work, if you need like a determination mule, the fire gargoyle is a really popular option. You can see mine is built because I was using him. My recommendation, if you're going to try to do this, is to build him though. I was trying to do it without investing in him actually, and the problem is that when you take a hit, if he's not strong enough to not go below 70% after the hit, the run's gonna fall apart. And I saw so many runs where we get the dragon's health down this far, and then he would stop turning to stone, and the team-ups would start to get messed up because they'd start pulling him in with the team-up, and we'd fail. The dragon would have this much health left, and we couldn't kill it because the team-ups were getting screwed up, which means that our cooldowns were getting out of whack. And the reason that this works is because if the turn ends with 70% or higher HP, he'll be turned into a statue until the next turn starts. When he's a statue, he can't do anything. He can't counterattack. He can't be called in for a team-up. He's basically a non-existent unit on the team until he gets another turn. So as long as he's the fastest on the team, he'll go before them. He'll end with full HP. He'll turn to stone, and then it's just your Tricaru team doing their thing. They clear the wave, or they cycle turns. He gets another turn, comes back, turns to stone. And again, the only problem you have is when he gets hit. And if he's only level 30 and he's squishy, and they hit him and they knock him below 70%, the next time he gets a turn, he won't turn to stone and the run's gonna fall apart. So if you wanna lean into doing it this way, I would say at least 5-star him, awaken him, try to get his base stats up a little bit so that you can get his tank stats up higher, so that maybe he won't go below 70% so quickly. My secondary advice to that is probably just don't bother with this. I think you can probably get it working. I don't know. I guess I would have to 5-star him and try it to see how much of a difference it made if he was actually built. But I struggled to get it to work super consistently with him at level 30. It did work on level 11. I did farm DB 11 for a little bit like that, and it was very consistent there with him just like this. I just couldn't get it working the same way on 12. So that's an option. I've heard other people say that they just take like a really weak 2-star in with determination gear, and it works like that because the first time the enemies get a turn, they'll just snipe him, and you still get the effect from the determination runes they were carrying. I couldn't get that to work the right way. It wasn't working out that way for me. I did discover, because sometimes I'd get lucky and they'd kill the gargoyle, and I did realize that they kept the effect of the determination runes he was carrying. But to get someone that they'll kill consistently is tough, because the crystals, I don't believe, have an element. They just go after whoever the hell they want to go after. Sometimes it's the 2-star and sometimes it's not. So again, not very consistent. And that's, I think, pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I think. I remembered one more thing I wanted to cover. There is a chart. I'm going to put a link to it down below in the description. There's a chart. I don't know who created it. I know the best I can find is that 2 years ago on Reddit, Bayakuya611 is the one that uploaded it, so I assume they're the ones that created it. But there's a chart, and I'll show it to you now. I'll pull it up on the screen now. But it's a good point of reference for how you can eyeball the defense you need. You can gauge the level of your defense tower with the number of determination sets that you have on the team. And in my case, it's 3. So if we use the chart as reference and we look at my Icarus, I have 3 determination sets, and I do have a level 21 guild. I'm sorry, but let's do this the other way. I have a level 20 defense tower, and I have a level 21 guild. So very top, we can go over. We know that I have 3 determination sets in the mix. So everyone on my team needs to be 2204 or higher, which they are, okay? 2204.4 is the minimum amount of visible additional defense that I need to see for this team to work consistently, okay? So I'm a decent bit over the threshold. So perhaps we could make some adjustments even, and maybe get a little more damage out of one of them or 2 of them and speed the run up. But this chart will be really helpful for you eyeballing it. Don't try to do it with a weaker defense tower though. I know all the information's there, but you can see the difference, right? You can see the difference in just a few levels of the defense tower. It might not seem like much, but it adds up. It adds up a lot. So just go ahead and max the tower, get it done, get it behind you. You never have to think about it again, and you can build the team knowing that you've done everything that you can do to make it as easy as possible, because even with the tower maxed, even with a level 21 guild, it's still kind of difficult to get everything you need. You need a solid handful of really, at least a slightly above average quality guard runes. You need the same thing for determination runes, which are even harder to come by. So don't underestimate the importance of that guard tower. That's probably one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give you. Don't underestimate the guard tower. Don't start trying to do this too soon, and really, really strive to get your Icarus working as a unit that don't need additional determination set mules, and you will be good to go. All right, so I think that's it. I think that's everything I have that will be helpful. I hope I've covered everything and made this easy to understand and easy to approach. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comments, or there's a link below to my Discord. You can hop in the Discord. I'm sure I or someone else in there will help you with any problems that you're having with this. If you've got any other tips for the team you would like to drop below, maybe some other places in the game that it works, or something interesting you've done with it, I would be very interested to hear any of that. So that's it. We're going to get out of here. I do hope it was helpful. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you later.